Hello, Women of the Channel Leadership Network. I'm Jackie Rives, your community leader, and welcome to another Woman of the Week. This week, I'm very excited to introduce you to one of our Women of the Channel Advisory Board members, Sarah Marsh, Director of Partner Channels for Workday. Hi, Sarah. Thank you so much for being here.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. So let's give our listeners a chance to get to know you a little bit. Where do you live and where did you grow up, if that's something different?
Sure. I currently live in South Jersey, about 10 minutes from Philadelphia. I grew up only 2 hours north from here in North Jersey, so not very exciting, but really love it here. We love the city. We were there for 8 years before moving into the suburbs.
So that's funny. I did not know that about you. And I grew up outside of Philadelphia. So yeah, we'll have to talk about that later.
Mhm.
All right. What is a little known fact about you?
I actually started my sales career in the beer industry, so very different than technology, obviously. But I definitely consider myself a beer geek. While I was working for the Boston Beer Company, my first real job out of college, I actually was a finalist twice in their homebrew contest, which they have nationally every year. So it was a really great way to get my career started before moving over to technology.
That is such a cool story. I love that. All right. Well, let's switch gears. Tell me about your career path and how you reached this position today.
Sure. So I spent the last 16 years at Verizon. So I really grew up there. That was, the bulk of my career. The first 10 years I was in direct sales. So I had a pretty traditional career growth path in direct sales, just moving up the chain from an individual contributor to a manager, associate director, and managing partner, selling across all segments. So I've had experience in SMB, government, global enterprise. And then about 6 years ago, I started in my first role in channel. And that is really what changed my career. I was given a really unique opportunity to relaunch the channel programs at Verizon, which I loved because it gave me the ability to operate as a startup, but within a huge company. And I had, responsibility for sales, business development, strategy. I built and developed channel marketing, sales enablement, anything you can imagine to basically build a channel program from scratch. And that has grown pretty tremendously over the last few years. It, now represents a 2.65 billion business for Verizon. And it was a really exciting part of my career to help grow and develop that into what it is today. And then most recently, my last role at Verizon, I led strategy and sales enablement for channel, where I I rebranded their channel programs, Verizon Partner Network, and was helped to consolidate 16 different partner programs across the company. So a lot of great experience and transformation that led me to the role I'm in today at Workday. I took a pretty big leap of faith going from a company where I was 16 years. I knew everybody, had a great network. The CEO was one of my mentors. So, really great established network, moving to a company where I did not know one person. So a little scary, but I'm so glad I made that leap of faith because Workday is a phenomenal company, just at the front of innovation and always putting the customer first. So I'm really excited to be here. And we're also in a similar transformation journey with channel and with partnering. So I love that I'm able to translate a lot of this experience I've had over the last few years.
Yeah, you have some amazing experience, Sarah, just in different areas. And I love that you really broke it down and explained that it's like almost like a startup, right? So you're doing all these different things and getting all these skill sets that definitely, I'm sure, that are helping you achieve even more in your role today. So thank you for sharing that with us. What are some experiences or transformational moments in your life?
So I'm actually going to share a personal moment, but it really impacted me from a work perspective as well. So in 2019, my stepdaughter, who was 17 at the time, was in a pretty horrific car accident that left her in a coma for 5 days. And at the time, I told you I was relaunching channel programs. I was in the thick of a pretty busy time in my life from a work perspective. One of my leaders had just left the company, so I was short-staffed and we were at a very busy moment. But I was able to, walk away and just focus on what mattered most at that time, which was our family, my stepdaughter, making sure she was okay. And normally I'm a control freak, I would say, where it's hard for me to really truly let go. I was always the type of person that checked in on vacations and even my maternity leave. But at this moment, I truly checked out and I put all of the trust in the hands of my team. They stepped up in phenomenal ways, were able to cover in some pretty important things we had going on. But I was able to 100% disconnect from work and be where I needed to be, which was with my family. And, I'm happy to report that my stepdaughter had a great recovery. She's doing really well now. And so things worked out wonderfully. But that gave me incredible perspective that I've taken through the rest of my career now over the last few years. And it was really valuable, I think, when the pandemic hit, because it really gave us that perspective about, you need to be where your feet are. We're all juggling something we don't know. We're being parents and teachers and employees and leaders, and really having trust in my team to be able to do things and to empower them to do things, but then also to, be okay with taking the time I needed to, be a parent during the pandemic. So it gave me new perspective and how I framed up, my life and where my priorities lie.
Thank you for sharing that. That's something that, we don't always talk about. We want to, and I'm sure that you were checking in because you also wanted to be there for your team. Like, I understand the control freak side, because I can be the same way, but I'm sure as a leader, you also were not wanting to like leave them hanging. So I love that you were able to step away and prioritize. And I'm sure that your team loved the opportunity to be able to show you what they could do. So lots of good tips that came out of that transformational moment. And thank you for sharing that.
Sure.
I have a suspicion that part of this is part of this experience is how you started to learn how to protect and create that work-life balance. But do you have any other things that you wanted to share in that area?
Yes, this was something I really struggled with. I would say in the early part of my career, I was notorious for having that working mom guilt, and felt like I needed to really check my identity as a mom at the door when I came to work to really be respected and looked at as a leader. So that was something that I think I really battled with early on. This, like I mentioned, gave me tremendous perspective. And I don't even use the word work-life balance. I really try to stay away from that and really embrace bringing myself to work, my whole self, and embracing my identity. And a couple of things that have helped me really prioritize what needs to get done is there's one exercise I do called a game day list. And basically I will create, a list of 3 to 5 things that I absolutely need to do, my non-negotiables that day. Because I'm sure, like everybody, you get a ton of fire drills, things that are thrown at you, and your day doesn't necessarily end up like you planned. But if you start with, hey, these are the things that need to happen, and it might be a couple of work priorities, but you can also have personal priorities. It might be getting to your child's soccer game, or it might be, hey, I want to have dinner with my family tonight. That's a non-negotiable for me. I'm going to put that on there along with a couple of work deliverables that need to happen. And if you can do that, it really helps to cut through the noise when you have this never-ending to-do list, and it makes you feel good, feel accomplished, and it gives you some good momentum that, hey, the day was still a success, even if you have things left on your to-do list. So that's a practice that I find really impactful. One other thing that I started doing recently is I started my weeks now. So usually on a Sunday, kind of looking ahead to what I had going on that week, from a work schedule, a personal schedule, kids' activities, all the things that you have going on, and really think about how you want to feel that week. And, you could think about, you want to feel accomplished, you want to feel, respected, empowered, or you might want to also feel vibrant and energized and loved. Like, you can come up with anything you want, but at the end of it, you look at your list and all the things you have going on. Are there things you can remove and delegate? I'm a big fan of delegating where you can. And then are there things you need to add? maybe you said energized, but you have a list and a week full of pretty draining meetings and activities. Maybe you need to add in a workout, or connecting with a friend or a loved one, or even just scheduling time to walk during your lunch break, whatever it might be. But I find that really kind of helps set up your week for success. So you really feel good at the end of it, and everything you're doing is very intentional about creating the life that you want, whether that's from a work or a personal perspective, doesn't matter, but you're being a lot more intentional with your time.
Okay. I definitely have done the kind of planning my week out and just kind of getting in the headspace of what I have to get done. But I've never thought to ask, how do I want to feel this week? So I love that you added that in, because for me, that's something new. And I know that our listeners, there's going to be someone who's going to be like, that resonates with me. I think that's just an amazing way to look at your week. Just like you said, like, if you're feeling like you're, you are detached from your spouse because you guys are going in different directions, then, okay, I want to feel more connected. Let's set up a date night or something like that. That's like my first thought went there, like with, your family and your kids. I love that. Great advice. All right. We've got time for one more. So let's talk about the characteristics you possess that make you an effective leader.
I know the word authentic is thrown around a lot, but I would say that I'm a very authentic leader, and also very caring. And I think that, matters so much, is to really get to know your employees, know what makes them tick, and truly genuinely care about them and their well-being. It goes such a long way. And, I really try to be, very intentional about getting to know my team, getting to know what matters to them most, and then being there for them, knowing that I'm there to support them. And I would tell you, people just want to work for people. And if you go the extra mile to get to know them and to connect with them, they will go tenfold that for you and work hard. And you will have such an incredibly highly productive team, and just build an amazing culture that just translates down. So I understand if you have a big organization, you might not know every single person within your org, but at least if you start with your leaders or your direct reports, and you build that type of a culture where it is about building connections and about getting to know people as people, that will translate down, and it just builds a tremendous culture where, people want to come to work, and, they want to spend their time with each other, and they'll want to work really hard for you as a leader.
Yeah, I think that's amazing. Essentially, you are creating community and belongingness with your team and coworkers. And I love that, because that's what, as humans, we probably, whether we want to admit it or not, we need that community and sense of belonging, and knowing that people truly care, not about what we're putting out, but who we are and, what we're bringing to that table. Thank you so much, Sarah, for your time today and sharing a little bit of your journey with all of us. I can't even tell you just how great it was for me to get to know you a little better today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I love this community. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, community members, that was your Woman of the Week this week. Until next time, happy Wednesday.